listening to the Terrific Teacherpreneur, a podcast for teachers looking to grow a successful online business. Your host, Alex, was able to transform her Teachers Pay Teachers store from a small side hustle into a profitable full-time business. She now helps other teachers do the same. Listen along for actionable tips and helpful wisdom about business and marketing as a teacherpreneur. Here's your host, Alex.
Hello and welcome to the Terrific Teacherpreneur podcast. I am so excited because this is my 200th episode. Oh my goodness. So I started this podcast back in 2021. I cannot believe I have been doing this for 5.5 years. Wow. Now, every now and then I have like a little milestone episode, like 100 episodes, 150, that kind of thing. And I like to do something a little bit different. Instead of just me rambling on a topic, I like to try and have some wisdom from other sellers. I think it's just really nice to hear some points of view from other TPT sellers and not just me and what I think the whole time. So this episode is going to be another Words of Wisdom episode. It's going to be a little bit different though. I think in previous episodes, I tended to try to get, veteran sellers to share their opinions. And I kind of was like, oh, if you're ranking this high, you've been selling this long, share your wisdom kind of thing. But I thought I'd do something a little bit different this time. I didn't say you had to be a veteran seller this time. I asked in my Facebook group, I said, if you're happy to contribute, as long as you've been selling at least 1 year, so you have, some data to look back on, you can say, I'm in my second year. I said, I don't really mind. You can be a newer or what's considered a smaller seller. That's okay. I would love to hear from you. I just thought it might be nice to hear a more kind of well-rounded kind of thing going on. I don't know. I just thought it might be fun, especially if you're in your first couple of years on TPT. It's inspiring to hear what veterans are doing. But at times it can feel very irrelevant because you're at a very different point in your journey. So say you're in your second year on TPT, someone that's been selling for 10 years or more, and they might have all these like virtual assistants helping them and they've got this huge store and they're doing all this marketing and you're like, I'm not really at that point yet. So the advice doesn't feel quite as relevant. I thought it might be fun just to have a bit of a mix of things so you can hear from people who are even just a little bit newer. The only thing I said was, like I said, you have to be selling at least 1 year. I also said, could you share what you have done lately in your business that has had a big positive impact on your earnings? So I was kind of hoping for people to contribute that are seeing growth. And this is not to say, I don't want to hear from you just because you're plateauing a bit or anything like that. But just, if you're seeing success at the moment, I think that's really helpful to share your wisdom with other people because, TPT is tricky at the moment. It's the economy is pretty bad at the moment. We've got a lot of AI coming onto TPT. I don't know. There's a lot going on, so it can be kind of scary. And I think, for some people that have got their sales going down or they're plateauing, I think it's really, it's just nice to hear from some people who are seeing some really positive things in terms of their earnings. So anyway, that was the question I asked. But before that, I did say, feel free to give a little bit of a context about your business. So like how long you've been selling, maybe your niche or your resources, your ranking, your milestones, your earnings, whatever. I said that was optional, but if you want to give a little bit of context, that's great. Anyway, thought I would just start reading out responses and you can hear from some people other than me for a change. Okay, so I'm going to start off with some of the slightly newer sellers. So this person said, I started to take my store seriously in the summer of 2024. So they've been doing this a fairly short amount of time. But the 2025 to 2026 school year was a breakout year. I went from making $200 to $300 a month to $2,000 to $3,000 and getting into the top 1% bracket. My niche is middle school and it's a fairly popular subject. So I'd say the competition is medium, not overly saturated or still fairly popular. So that's what they said for their context. I mean, wow, I'm excited to see what they say because that is some massive awesome growth, like 10 times their earnings, going from that very much, newer seller earnings, where we all earn a couple of hundred a month when you're a newer seller, to getting into the 4 figures is awesome. That's, whoever you are, thank you for sharing, but also I'm very proud of you. That's very exciting. So let's hear what they had to say. Remember, the question was, what have you done lately in your business that you think has had a big positive impact? So they said, in 2024, I put out a bunch of different products. The best analogy I could think of was I threw spaghetti at the walls to see what would stick. One particular product line showed promise, so I went all in on that type of product. I niched down, put blinders on, and started focusing on making more of this type of product. Along the way, I started to learn everything I could about the business side of things and really treated it like a business. The gamble paid off. I don't want to give away too many details on what the product is, but what I will tell you is that it is not an easy build. One product takes me about 20 to 30 hours or more to build from start to finish for what ends up being an $8 product, but each one sells often. I started to build a Facebook community around my now even further niche down topic and noticed that I was getting a lot of repeat buyers from that community. So my advice is threefold. First, follow the money, even if it's not a product you want to make, especially if it's a hard product to make. Complicated, complex builds will withstand AI much better. Secondly, build your community, whether that's an email list, blog, Facebook, TikTok, find your audience. Repeat buyers are huge. Third, treat it as a business. There are days when you're just too tired. I teach full time, I get it. But do it tired. Show up for your business every single week and it will show up for you too. I'm extremely hopeful for the 2026 to 2027 school year and have my sights set on a 5-figure month, hopefully. And that's what they said. Wow. I think we're starting off strong. Like, this is just like the first one. I did not have hopes that people would be giving this kind of advice. Like, this is amazing. I'm actually not going to comment too much on each thing because if I do, I think I will be here for hours. But I'm just going to say I agree, and that might be some really amazing advice to listen to. And I feel like in that, like something that I've said before, I'll say again is, make more of what sells. I just really, really agree with that. And then part they said it will withstand AI better when you choose things, the harder things to make, the things that take longer. So, for example, say, I don't know what this person's thing is, but like say it was a curriculum or something, lesson plans that are really going to save teachers a lot of time. Maybe it's boring or harder to make, but you can charge more and people really need it and it sells better and all the things. Gosh, such good advice. Thank you so much to this person. No pressure, but I actually don't know how anyone else is going to top that because I thought that was really good. Okay, so this next one is another somewhat newer seller. So they said, I've been selling for 1.5 years and I dabble between the 98th and 99th percentile. I made my first 4 figures around month 6 and consistently had 4-figure months around the 1-year mark. That was their context. And that is impressive. Hitting 4 figures that early. Wow, they're obviously doing something right. They actually did give their name. I'm not sure whether I should share names or not because I don't want people to copy other sellers and look at their stores and stuff. I'm going to use my discretion here. If they've said their name and it's a really generic name, I'm going to say it. This person has a really unique name and I'm scared if I say it that people might Google it and figure out who they are. I don't know. Anyway, okay. What have you done lately in your business that has had a big positive impact? So they said, from the beginning, I quickly learned that creating resources that may not have the highest demand, but very low competition has been the key for me. Not many people are searching for that special product. For those that do, once you master SEO, thumbnails, covers, etc., your product is the one they'll buy, and they'll likely return to find the other unique products they are searching for. I don't chase high competition products, no matter how much I'd like to. That's some really good advice, and that actually is probably why they are earning such good money in so early in their journey. And, I'm not going to go on a big, long rant about SEO, but that is a really harsh truth, is that you make something that has really high buyer demand, that's really competitive, like everybody's searching, for edition worksheets, whatever, like there's just so many results. You're kind of wasting your time. I've often said that. And so this person's going for those really special things. Yeah, they're not being searched very often, but when they're being searched, people are going to find this person's resources, which is really, really great. And yeah, that's a lot of what people come on TPT for. Something they can't make themselves, maybe some kind of unique kind of gap, like something they just don't have. They really want like some, special thing. So that's actually really, really great. Okay, so this next one said, I've been seriously selling since 2023. In 2025, I was ranked around 1,400. Can't remember the exact number for the year. So I've been successful in that short period of time. So far this year, I've grown 1.5 times each month. So not the 2 times growth of 2025, but still significant. And so for the what have you done lately in your business thing, they said, here are the things I think are helping the most. Find a micro niche is number 1. While maybe my broader niche of upper elementary math and science is saturated, finding a niche within that niche has been helpful. Number 2, making bigger bundles and systems to go with it. Systems are important. Tell teachers how the system works and what problem it solves for students. AI isn't good at systems. Number 3, create super fans. In a world of AI, be human. Build trust with your audience. I do this by being present in my micro niche Facebook group and through email. I think trust is going to be the difference from being a Blockbuster or a Netflix in this AI boom. Number 4, stay relevant. This business isn't passive anymore. Update and optimize old products and create new ones. Don't just make something to post, but intentionally continue to create resources for your audience. And number 5, make the harder products. AI cannot critically think. I know what students in my niche get wrong and how test questions are worded to trick students. While I can get AI to help me, ultimately, I need to think critically to provide a resource that is hard for my audience to find. Really, really great advice there. And actually some similarities to some of the previous stuff I've been, reading out about, like narrowing down the niche even more, like micro niching. That's a great term. And the mention of AI, which they mentioned throughout a few times, is really, really helpful. Like, we all know that it's going to be quite competitive in the coming months and years. Like, how is TPT going to fare against this? And I think they're right that trying to stand out and be human, make things that AI can't compete with, is the only way to survive. So there's some really great advice in here about that. And some other similarities here with the mention of like the Facebook groups and the human side of things. That seems to be a common theme. So like I feel like there's going to be some things throughout this episode where you'll hear some similar advice repeated. And I think that's the stuff you really want to take away, because multiple people are saying that when they've been seeing growth. And yeah, really like this person's wisdom on that one. That was really good. Next couple I'm going to read out are people who've been selling about 3 to 4 years, kind of around that mark. I'm sort of moving my way up towards people who've been selling longer. One person said, I've been selling for 3 years. I'm consistently in the top 5%. I have around 550 math products. And they said that the thing they did lately is started an email list, so a teacher newsletter, and that was the big thing. Kind of a brief response, but, pretty powerful, because email lists are super, super important. It has been mentioned by someone else already in this episode, and if you listen to me on podcasts that I talk about email lists a fair amount. The next person, Emily, she said, I've been a seller for 4 years. I create resources for secondary math and have 291 products. It is a very saturated niche, and I have struggled to compete with the well-known established sellers and curriculum writers. Despite that, I have continued to increase my sales exponentially year over year, and I'm consistently in the top 3 or 4% of sellers. So that's kind of new to me. I didn't know that high secondary math was that competitive. I don't know a lot about like anything beyond what I do, which is like, K to 2. Interesting. But they said, what have you done lately in your business? They said, I recently uploaded summer math review workbooks to help increase summer earnings, and I'm happy to say it's working. Over the last year, I've also focused on creating more expensive resources, bundles, and product lines. And I think that's the biggest reason for my increased earnings. And then they specified branching out into Algebra 2 has been good because it's not as saturated as Algebra 1. So I like, my little takeaway from that is the part where they said creating more expensive resources, bundles, and product lines. This is the big money maker. When you churn out those random, standalone, cheap resources that you can kind of quickly throw together, they don't bring the money in the same way that the really big, expensive stuff does. The bundles and the product lines, which is similar to what I mentioned earlier when someone talked about making the hard resources. They kind of go hand in hand. Those ones that are harder to make, the big curriculums and stuff, are often expensive resources, bundles, and product lines. So those two things are just so powerful. They kind of go hand in hand. Really great advice again. This next one is a brief one, but still helpful. So Ingrid said she has like a French literacy resource kind of niche. And she said, I used wish listed items to push in marketing and to promote during sale times, knowing that my followers are already seeking them but not hitting buy. Very interesting. In 200 episodes of this podcast, I don't know if I've ever really talked about wish listing. So this is like a fun little tidbit to be thrown in there, because it's something I've never really chatted about. In your product statistics, you can see how many people have wish listed a resource. It's just a piece of data I've never really looked at or cared about. But come to think of it, you could probably, you can download your statistics, you can export that data. So you could probably kind of sort in Excel from like highest to lowest amount of wish listed items. And you could look at it. And I've always just felt like there's just going to be a correlation, surely, with your best sellers are going to be wish listed more, the ones with higher views. But there may be some resources that have similar amounts of views and reviews, whatever, but some have more wish listing than others. Again, I think like price point would probably impact that. People can, buy a $1 resource really impulsively and easily, but they're going to ooh and ah over a big bundle. But I think there probably is some useful information there, and you might see some things that are wish listed and not necessarily selling. And yeah, a great thing to do is to market those things during a sale. I really like that advice, something I've never thought to even talk about. So that's really helpful. Okay, so this next one is Christina Esselman. So she said, for her context, I uploaded 35 products over 10 years. So very sporadic, not really learning anything about business, minimal sales. Then started taking it seriously in November 2024 and saw exponential growth from there. I'm excited to read what she has to say because she's really active in my Facebook group and has a lot of really awesome wisdom in her comments. So here's what she said. What have you done lately? She said, doing lots of keyword/market research prior to product creation. Not just using tools, though I do use those and even created my own, but actually just getting hands dirty and spending lots of time looking up keywords directly in TPT search. The more you see, the more you learn via pattern recognition of what buyers want, what the algorithm prioritizes and rewards, etc., and the better product you can create that will actually rank and actually fill buyers' needs. Also, don't create what's already there. Create what is missing. Solve the problem that the current products available all have. I knew she would come out with some good wisdom. That was really helpful. I got to admit, it's a bit of a bummer. Sometimes, like back in the day with TPT, you could just kind of make what you felt like making, like what was fun or what you needed for your classroom. Times have changed. Honestly, TPT is getting really competitive nowadays. And so, yeah, this is the harsh reality. She's right that nowadays just making what you feel like making isn't really always going to be the answer. Because like I mentioned earlier with addition worksheets, you might want to make a back to school craft or an addition worksheet for second grade or whatever. And there's a million of them already on there. So you're kind of wasting your time. And it's as harsh as that is. So she's, right in saying that find something that is missing, something that hasn't been made yet. And that's hard, of course. It's easy just to make the common stuff, task cards for, popular topic or whatever. But the things that buyers need that haven't been made yet, and I think she's kind of hinting at is like within a certain type of product or, topic or whatever, there are other products that are kind of there and they're okay and they're good and they're selling, but they're not quite exactly what the buyer wants. And you can make a similar sort of product, but add that missing piece, make it better, make it bigger, adding more in, putting in the things that are missing. Really helpful advice. So that's Christina, and she does have an SEO tool that she's recently just made. So I'm recording as of June, and she literally just released it a few days ago. I will put a link in the show notes, and that is as a thank you because she has been so awesome in my Facebook group with sharing wisdom, in the last year or so. So if you want to check out her SEO tool, I have tried it. It's a Google extension. So I wouldn't, link to something that I don't know anything about. And there's plenty of SEO tools out there that I haven't tried. I will put a link in the show notes to that one if you want to have a little look. Okay, who is next? Okay, next up, we are back to another one, someone that's somewhat new. So Brittany said, I've been selling for 5 years, but only been serious about growing my store for the last 2. I'm still a very small store, so with 40 free resources and 130 followers. I only create during the summer, about 5 hours a day, and my resources take a long time to create, so I usually only get 10 to 15 per year. I don't do email or socials. Even so, my store does rank in the top 5% every month and averages a few $100s. I'm a small store with steady, small income, and I consistently see steady growth, slow and steady, she says. So what have you done lately in your business that has had a big positive impact? She said, I think there are 2 things that have significantly impacted my store's growth. A major rebrand and SEO. I redesigned every cover, thumbnail, and preview to create a cohesive look that became part of my brand. And I also shifted my SEO strategy to focus on long tail keywords. So if you're, someone just like Brittany and you've been selling for kind of a short amount of time, I think that's some helpful advice. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, it's nice to hear from someone who's kind of at a similar point in their journey to you. So someone that, has less than 50 resources, someone that's got, 130 followers, like that could be like you listening. And that's just really nice to hear. And I do like the part where she said she makes resources that take a long time. That is promising because, a couple of years from now, she could be doing really, really well because she's following that advice that has been mentioned in this episode already. And it's very, very powerful. But obviously, like her main takeaway things were, SEO and stuff, which is obviously super valuable. For our last couple of ones, these ones have been selling a little bit longer, so we're getting to some slightly more established sellers. So this next person said they have been selling full-time for 6 years, and they usually rank in the top 200 of sellers. Very impressive. My earnings are still growing, albeit much smaller growth than before. And she said, for the what have you done lately in your business, developing full curricula, keeping most of my bundles priced in the $20 to $50 range so they sell regularly all year long, versus one big sale in August or September. Like that was it. Short little sentence, but very, very, very helpful. So this is someone that is ranking the top 200 of sellers, so making some serious money, doing really, really well. Very, very happy for them. And the same advice we've been hearing, developing that full curricula, having the bundles in the $20 to $50 range, like the expensive resources, the big resources. I mean, if this isn't, your wake up call, I don't know what is, because everybody's saying the same thing. And it's something I 100% agree with. And I like the tidbit of, things that can sell all year long versus just around that back to school season. It's all good and well to have a good back to school seller, but yeah, it's nice to be able to make money no matter what the month is. And that's actually one of the reasons I'm a big fan of evergreen products over seasonal. Don't get me wrong, I love when there's, a cute Valentine's Day craft that suddenly does well or something, but you want to be able to make money consistently throughout the year. So love that advice. And our final piece of advice. So this final person said, I have been selling since 2013, just part-time, some years not doing much. I started taking things seriously about a year and a half ago. From June 2024 to June 2025, my earnings were about $14,000. And this year, from June 25 to June 2026, my earnings are $32,300. So that was about a 2.3 times increase. My ranking in that first year was 97% each month, and now I'm mostly 99% or sometimes 98%. I currently have about 325 listings, but I have a good amount of freebies also, and a bunch of listings are $1 and lead to a bundle. And that was the context. So they've had the store a really long time, but they've started taking it a lot more seriously in recent years, and then they've done some really great increase in their earnings lately, which is awesome. So when I said, what have you done lately? They said, number one, just making more products. You can't sell what you don't have in your store. I added a lot of listings in the past year and a half, and I also updated all old listings. Some of the next things I had been doing, but I just started doing more consistently. I think maybe there's a little bit of a typo there. Maybe it's just saying like some of the things I had already been doing, but I started doing more consistently. Fair enough. Anyway, number two, marketing and sharing links in niche Facebook groups when it's allowed to do so, not general TPT groups. Number three, writing blog posts that include soft sells and sharing those. Number four, Pinterest, mostly organic, some lightly promoted for seasonal products. Number five, creating an evergreen nurture sequence that sends out when people join my email list. 13 emails with evergreen content. Number six, strategically creating products that go together or a meteor. I had a seasonal product that I sold for $8.99 that sold exceptionally well for me. Tip number seven, having a group of TPT seller friends like an accountability group or casual mastermind to stay motivated and bounce ideas off of. It helps keep TPT top of mind. I know this is long, so feel free to share what you want or none of it. Thanks, smiley face. No, I shared it all. It was all great, really helpful. I would like to hone in on the creating products that go together in our meteor, because product lines, bundles, expensive resources, big curriculums, like that is the big takeaway from this episode. It's the theme that seems to be throughout, everybody that's seeing growth, whether you're a new seller or you've been doing this for a decade. Love that. There's obviously a few marketing things in there. So this person's really into marketing. You know me, I love Pinterest, email lists, and I think all that's great. I think that, one of the best things, if you're new though, is actually the first tip they gave, which is just make more products. I think that's a really helpful thing to know if you're just like them and you're, been doing this more seriously in the last few years. You can't sell what you don't have. Love it. Okay, so that was everybody. I just had 10 responses. I knew I could have, posted in loads of Facebook groups and had loads of people answer, but we are already up to 23 minutes. I didn't want to be here for like an hour. I wanted to try to make it not go too long. And I exercised insane self-restraint here because I love to ramble. For each one of these, things that I was reading out, I desperately wanted to like respond to each thing they said and just like go on tangents and ramble on. And I tried so hard not to. So you should be really proud of me. I should try and keep this under 30 minutes. But anyway, I hope this has helped. I think, like I said at the beginning, it's just really nice to hear from someone other than me, because otherwise you're just hearing one person's opinion, one person's experience. Guest episodes are awesome. I just don't have the capacity for that right now. So this feels like a nice sort of second best option of you getting to hear what other sellers are doing, but specifically what people are doing that are seeing growth. And yeah, we shouldn't be always just, only listening to people who've been selling a decade. Like, there could be people that have been just selling a few years, but if they are seeing amazing growth in a short period of time. I mean, people like I read out people, getting to 4 figures in their first year and stuff, like amazing stuff. Some of these people are achieving amazing things. So we want to be listening to everyone because everyone's got some wisdom to share. And like I said, I think it's helpful to listen to someone maybe that's at a similar point to you. Maybe the things I say aren't always relevant to a newer seller. So I hope this has been helpful. And I really hope that you've enjoyed the podcast in general. Like, I'm just really excited. 200 episodes. Like, I need to have a party or something. Very, very cool. I'm actually very proud of myself. And I'm very, very grateful to you, especially those of you who've been listening for a really long time and put up with my rambling all these years. But even if you're a somewhat newer listener and you've only listened to a handful of episodes, I'm still incredibly grateful. Thank you to everybody for allowing me to do this, because I never would have gotten to 200 episodes if people didn't listen and subscribe and review and what have you. So thank you. It's been a really nice little creative outlet for me when I'm not, working on my store, to just talk about TPT. Anyway, getting all sappy. Thank you for everything. I probably will end up taking a little podcast break after this. Like, I love the round number of 200, and now I'm going to probably need a minute. But yay for 200. Thank you for being here. I hope that you have a terrific day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Terrific Teacherpreneur. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Come back for more actionable tips and helpful wisdom in the next episode with your host, Alex. Until then.